You're listening to the Cricket Podcast.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Cricket Podcast, where we're going to be talking about Group B in the World T20 that's coming up. We actually did the small teams, didn't we? We've done Namibia, Oman and Scotland, and if you're interested in hearing our thoughts on them, you can go back to our previous episode where we did them in detail. Apart from Oman, where Max just went on a rant about old people, which was interesting. Two teams we'll be covering are Australia and England. I should say as well, if you disagree with us, do leave some messages in the comments or tweet us, Instagram us, Facebook us, whatever, at the Cricket Pod. And we'd love to hear your thoughts about how Shivam Dubé will be taking stacks of wickets at this World Cup. Or whatever crackpot theory.
And Jack, we also got Patreon. We've got a new Patreon member just this morning. Andrew, welcome to the beloved Patreon. We are hosting a World Cup T20 draft as well that Alex is running in our Patreon. So if you want to get involved, sign up right now. And hopefully it won't be too late.
Cool. Group B then. Australia. Max.
Australia. So
hey. Come on.
I've not
had a chance to speak yet. It's England.
All right,
let's do England
first. Yeah, all right, we'll do it.
Come on. Let's play.
Let's do it alphabetically. We'll do England
start
first.
this podcast saying with the three amigos, and then you're trying to push me to the side when we get to the second part of it. Unbelievable. Right, England. They have got a pretty boring kit, if I'm perfectly honest. I don't like it. It's red the whole way through with a bit of blue on it. It's too red for me. It doesn't feel like a proper England top. It kind of reminds me of remember like the early noughties football kits that we had, which didn't help us at all.
Yeah.
If we're going to really not excited by it.
Really, Ross, what the kit needs is like a sort of purple St George's cross on the back, doesn't it? It's just
it does. We need to change what this. Yeah, it needs to be for everyone, Max. All right.
Yeah.
If we're basing it upon their chances on coming into the tournament, I'm perfectly honest, they don't really care about T20 cricket if it's not in a World Cup. They've lost to Bangladesh, they've drawn with West Indies, and they've lost to the West Indies. Bangladesh being drawn, losing 3-0, New Zealand drawing 2-2, and then West Indies beating them 3-2. It's all been a little bit meek, and based upon Matthew Mott and Joss Butler's tenure, they've crashed out of the 50 World Cup, obviously last year, but they are world champs. And I think that is the big thing to take away from this, is that there's a serious amount of pedigree within this England team. In their group, they do have Australia, they've got Namibia, they've got the old men of Oman, and they've got Scotland. And I think it's either going to be an absolute bloodbath where they destroy everybody in their wake, or if the pitches are to be kind of brought into the equation, and some of the analysis we've seen going around on Twitter is that it could be a bit of a banana skin with some dodgy performances that they got. To combat against that, they have got 5 spin options in their team, which I think is quite handy. They are kind of part-timers in that space, and we've got destroyer of India's batting lineup, Tom Hartley, in the mix as well, which everyone's going to be very, very happy with. England have gone full firebrand, boundary bashers galore, and it's also a very heavy right-hander setup. So you've got Butler, Salt, Jacks, Bairstow, Brooke, Livingston. You've then got Moeen Ali and Sam Curran kind of vying out, depending on what's happening in that space. So there's a lot of firepower, with Ben Duckett providing some sweep shots if he's required, as a left-hander being added to the lineup. If I'm perfectly honest, guys, I'm actually really excited by this boom or bust approach. I think England are always best when they are kind of pushing things to the max. And Rob Key has come out and said he thinks it's going to be an absolute six fest, or a slug fest, I think is what he called it in his press release. So bowling wise, England are heavily reliant on Jofra Archer being fit throughout the tournament. He did make his return against Pakistan and did okay. But they've got experienced operators in the pace department in Topley, Jordan, Wood, but they are made out of glass, which is a bit of a worry because England haven't got the best of track records of looking after their people. And Sam Curran's kind of just getting back to kind of fitness and a bit of form as well after his Punjab Kings exploits. Overall, chaps, I think looking at their squad, their batting is possibly the strongest in the competition in terms of kind of intent and the record and the reputations that they've got. Bowling on their day is going to be a real challenge for teams, but consistency is going to be a real question of this team. Jobs are very much on the line, and I think England have kind of, on more than one occasion, kind of adopted the Bairstow bulldog spirit. Kind of when you just think you're down and out, when they're really backs up against the wall, they pull out some big performances. And I think we can be expecting England to have a pretty good tournament based upon what is written on paper. What do you think, guys?
I think they've got the highest score in their locker of the tournament. That's for sure. But it might happen once. And they might score 130 a lot of the time. It's going to be fun, is what it's going to be. And I'm interested to see what they go with the batting, because we want to see Will Jackson there, we want to see Phil Salt in there. But you made the point about the left-handers, and it's a valid one. So you just wonder whether they're going to shoehorn in Ben Duckett in place of someone like Will Jacks to just provide that left-handed option in the middle. I don't think they necessarily will, but it's an option. It's just
my thought process of that, Max, is that they might have some floaters. So
yes. Sam Curran at 4.
Yeah, if Moeen Ali's in the team or Sam Curran's in the team, then that is the left-hand option that they probably end up playing with, other than Ben Duckett being in the lineup. But it does depend on the track. Ben Duckett is pretty good against spin, it's probably fair to say, especially limited overs.
Yep.
I think the other thing is England will bank on players like Will Jacks being kind of false left-handers. So if you look at Will Jacks's breakdown against different bowling types, he's actually much better at hitting the ball spinning away from him than the ball spinning into him. So I'm just going to read it out. Slow left arm, he strikes at 147 with a healthy average of 30. Leg breaks, averages 30, strikes at 150. When the ball spins into him, 28.3 average, striking at 120. So, what I'm saying there is that those stats look more like what they would be for a left-hander. And that potentially frees it up a little bit. And Ross, as you say, Moeen Ali can float up and down the order as well if you need to do that. And then Butler is reasonably dynamic himself. So I don't love the 6 righties, or 7 righties, or the unlimited number of right-handers this team could theoretically play,
but not as much of an issue as on paper as it is in practice.
Yeah, you never know. You never know is what I'm saying. Like there's probably there's potentially a little bit more to it than just like, oh, they're all right-handers. What we'll do is we'll bowl Abhishek Sharma, who isn't obviously at the tournament. We just saw that in an IPL semi-final, and that'll be that. But
it comes back, doesn't it? To the matchups are all well and good, but realistically, you still want to go with who's actually better at cricket. And England have got some very exciting batting in there, but arguably they need it with the bowling.
Yeah, the bowling is. I've got questions over the bowling, but for perfect.
Here's what I think.
Go on
about the bowling. I think they'll take wickets, and I think that'll be enough. I don't know enough for what, but I think this is, we just talked about India and we're just talking about England now. These aren't complete teams, but they both should be looking to basically make the semi-finals. So you're looking at reasons why they can't, and I don't think the bowling is a reason why England can't make the semi-finals. Like I think, like in the last World Cup, the sheer variety means that they will very regularly be able to put batters on the opposition side in situations where they're uncomfortable and that they have to do things that they wouldn't consider super strengths. And that, generally speaking, in T20 cricket equals wickets. Even like the kind of laughing stock bowlers like Livingston take wickets. And he's not a laughing stock bowler, but if you looked at like just his economy rate, you'd be like, why the hell would anyone ever bowl this guy? The guy who bowls leg spin sometimes and off spin sometimes, and neither of them that well. Well, the answer is because he actually he takes more wickets than like a lot of frontline spinners. Look through all of them. Moeen Ali gives it a proper rip. He will take you wickets. Reece Topley, we've seen his limitations in the IPL recently, but the guy will take poles. Jofra Archer, if he's 90% of what Jofra Archer used to be, he's going to take wickets. Chris Jordan bowls at the stumps the whole time. That's very predictable and can mean that he gets Jimmy Neeshamed, but he will hit the stumps quite regularly too. Adil Rashid, good wicket-taking option. Now, none of those are like World 11 bowlers. Like that's really, really clear that England are not carrying a super threat, but each of them should be able to contribute wickets. So I'm playing the opposite role to India earlier when I was like, here are the problems with India. And I'm saying, here are the actual good things about England. What you two are saying about how their batting is a bit boom or bust and how their bowling doesn't have a sexy man is leaky. Also true, but I think there's another side to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think the number of options helps. Like you said, like they got so much that they could do in one game where, like, in comparison, someone like India maybe don't have, especially if they want to lengthen their batting order a bit. But yeah, there'll be fun games when England are in town. It's going to be fun.
I think so. And that's why I think fast food, they are actually the Albion fish and chips. In some cases, you get really good fish and chips at the seaside. In other cases, you get absolutely awful, kind of too fried, too rubbish, not very good. And you're going to get both with this England team throughout this tournament. And I think it's very exciting. And they've got enough to put Australia away as well, I believe, in this group. So I think they're going to be table toppers in Group B, which sets them up for some nice next parts of the tournament.
Max, you want to talk us through Australia?
Yeah, it's a big old claim there, Ross. Table topping England, because looking at this Australia side, and they are effectively, to me, just the pinnacle of competence throughout, right?
For every format.
Wait, hold on. Mitch Marsh, the pinnacle of competence.
Yeah, the pinnacle of competence throughout the side, honestly. They won it in 2021. They're the ODI World Cup holders. There's plenty of familiar faces from both of those squads. There have been a couple of changes. No Steve Smith, he's gone. So that's a
Good
drop
decision.
of one level of competence, and brings Mitch Marsh into the captaincy seat. And obviously they bottled it on Jake Fraser-McGurk. But they have made one other change, which is to their kit. They've switched it up a bit, and it's a very fetching dark green. They've dialed down the gold, and they've upped the dark green this year, and it's quite classy. I quite like it. Have you seen the Aussie kit?
Yeah, I think it's a bit interesting. Yeah, it's a bit different, but it is a big thing to move away from a kit that you do win an awful lot in. When you look at the Australia yellow, that strikes fear into the opponents. I'm a bit decided. These guys are just going to kind of morph into this camouflage thing with the ground. I'm not excited by it.
Maybe that's all part of the plan. You know, when United had to change their kit at half time because they were merging with the advertising hoardings or whatever. Maybe Australia are going for we'll merge with the crowd or the advertising or whatever, and someone will think, yeah, big gap over there out to square leg. I'll knock that one for 6. Oh no, there he is. Takes the catch. Cameron Green, big mitts. That's what we're going for. One last hurrah for Davey Warner. That might be the reason that Jake Fraser-McGurk has not made the cut, because no one had the cojones to sideline Dave Warner and tell him it's one competition too many. And I've sometimes felt that Australia, you look at their side and you think there's some unbelievable cricketers in there, but not all that good at T20. Maybe, aren't elite at the specifics of T20, but you sort of take a step back, and I think there were probably two things around it. One, they don't play a whole lot of it internationally, and when they do, it's not with this squad. Jason Beredorf's been rolling around half the time. One of the shorts, Darcy or Matthew, they're always in there. There's always like kind of a makeup from some of the better players than Big Bash, but you're not often seeing. I can't remember the last time I saw, outside of a World Cup, an Australia bowling lineup that had Stark and Hazelwood and Cummins in it. And this is where I think, this time round, they're kind of stacked. with the ball and the bat. You know, but there are weaknesses. It's similar with England and India stuff, right? I mean, you look at it and you're like, there's so much good going on here. Travis Head, electric. Like he could score 100 off 30 and win a game in 7 overs. But also, if the ball's swinging a bit and he's facing a left armour, he might be out first ball. We've seen that quite recently. David Warner's probably a bit past it. Cameron Green, we don't know if he's actually good at T20 cricket, but he's not playing for RCB. He's playing in a team that will probably use him a bit better. He won't have to bowl 4 overs. He might be used a bit higher up the order. It could work. Marcus Stoinis can win a game on his own. It could all go horribly wrong. Mm-hmm. Glenn Maxwell's not in India anymore, so he's going to be good again. You've got to remember that. And Tim David.
Very handy matchup bowler as well with the old Glenn, the old big show.
And Tim David flashes to deceive, but again, he's not in a team that's got a batting lineup ahead of him that looks like it's completely drunk. So him coming in, scoring 30 off 10.
There's no Pierce Chawler to damage his confidence, is there either?
No, exactly. So there's just so much good stuff in that side, and they've got individual match winners. There's so many players who can take a game away with you, score 100 off 30, 40. There are multiple players in that side who can do that, and I don't think the same can be said for a lot of the other teams in this competition. So there's just so much depth, so much danger, and that's why I rate them pretty highly. One big flaw, I'd say, probably, perhaps a little over reliance on Zampa when it comes to the spin. Ashton Agar's another option. He's really not all that. On slower wickets, Maxwell can come in, match-up bowler, even Stoinis can come in and bowl some cutters and they can get away with it. But where you need maybe the point of difference, leg spinner, wicket taker, is Zampa enough to do that? I don't know.
Definitely.
But then you look
I think Zampa is the best spinner in this comp.
You do?
Yeah, I think it might not even be that close.
Wow.
Yeah. Look at his record. Look at his records. You can get this up and look at his record over the last, I think, 2 years. He's just been a phenom. He's bowling really, really well.
53 wickets in 44, economy rate of 7.8. Not bad. Not bad.
Decent. Yeah. He's bowling.
Yeah. Well, there you go. There's the weakness done. Australia are the best team in the world, and they're going to win the whole thing.
I think I do quite like their bowling. I'd agree with that. And I think there's enough variety in terms of the top order batters who can bowl a little bit to, give them the adaptability. If they are playing on a really slow pitch and they don't think that they want to bowl an extra over of Stark and Hazelwood, they can definitely bowl 4 overs of Maxwell, and that will definitely be okay. Like, that's far from the worst bowler we will see in this comp. I wonder whether they're a little bit old with the bat. I'm playing the role of like massively hyping up England here and crushing the spirit of Australia and India, and that isn't intentional. It's not because I'm a huge England fan. But Mac, you just gave them the biggest puff piece ever, and so now me and Ross do have to shoot you down.
Yeah, you do. I've given you the opportunity.
So I don't know. Is Dave Warner all that?
He's past it.
Is Glenn Maxwell
Dave Warner's past it?
Is Stoinis? So he played that great innings in Chennai this year in the IPL. Was that the raging against the dying of the light though? Is Cameron Green good at cricket? I'm still really not sure. I don't know where I am on that continuum. We did release a TikTok, Max, where you said you'd retain Will Jacks over Cameron Green, and some people were like, "No, Cameron Green's way more talented than Will Jacks," and maybe he is. I don't know. I don't know how to assess that. If I was going to say, off the top of my head, maybe Cameron Green isn't. I don't even know if he'll play in this team. To be fair, I don't know. I think the batting. I'm not so convinced by. I do like Ross, and I'd be interested in your thoughts here. I do like, Pat Cummins 2.0, Mitchell Starks just got back into form. Hazelwood, he's had a nice long rest. New father, so we'll want to impress his kid. Adam Zampa, arguably maybe the best spinner in the comp, and then like whoever else bowls. Like that is quite a good bowling lineup, isn't it?
It is. The question I've got is around the fitness and fatigue. So, Max, you talked about some of the India players who have played kind of continuously for a long time. I think some of these Australians are in that bucket as well, and they have had some injury issues. Mitch Marsh obviously went home early from the Delhi Capitals in that space. Are they? They're probably going to have to get a couple of overs here and there from kind of the part timers, right? So Marsh potentially having a couple of overs, Stoinis having a couple of overs. And then that mixed in with when you get it from kind of Glenn Maxwell. So I think that is there that part where that final set of overs is not as good as some of the other sets of overs you're going to get in the tournament, maybe. And then the fitness piece of are they really going to be hitting the heights? But they are Australia. They do seemingly turn up at every single World Cup and do pretty bloody well. They didn't even try to win the T20 competition before England won it. And they won it inadvertently. They didn't even mean to. They picked a test 11 and then literally still won. So there is that pedigree that the bright lemons kind of do quite well. But I'm more in the Max camp, if I'm perfectly honest. I think this team is pretty well rounded. They've got an awful lot of experience that should go a long way in this tournament. Again, if they crash out with the group stages, it'll be just a once in a blue moon thing to happen. So I think they'll be going through easily, and the game between England and Australia I think is going to be absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, I think it will be pretty good, won't it?
Should be.
Do we have a fast food for Australia?
We do have a fast food. It's a very niche one, so it needs a bit of background. But there was this in Bristol where Jack and I went to university. There was this sandwich shop called Maximilian's. I don't know if you remember this. Jack, did you ever go?
No.
To Maximilian's? You get a giant bap for £3.50. It was incredible. But then you could fill it with you'd choose the bap and then you'd fill it with whatever toppings you like, except the toppings were like basically extra sandwich fillings like salami, cheese, other stuff. But just ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. And essentially you could just stuff it full of whatever you like, and whatever happens, it will always come out really good. And that's this Australia side. It's great value as well. £3.50, absolute bargain.
For those people wondering what makes up, Subway is what you've kind of just explained.
Yeah, it's so much better than Subway, man. Like not.
You can't say on the fast food segment an independent sandwich shop in Bristol
on a global podcast.
Yeah, you can say. It doesn't even. I've checked.
In fairness, I did actually write Subway footlong and then changed it because I was like, Subway's not that good, and they're good.
Oh, so you put the right answer down,
and then and then I was like,
that's got no global
I wanted
appeal.
people to know. I wanted people to know about Maximilian's because it was a fine institution.
Well, there we go. That's Group B wrapped up. So England and Australia are going through. There's no doubt in my head whatsoever. Even if there's a banana skin here and there, they're going to have too much to get over the other teams of Namibia, Oman, and Scotland.
Yeah, we've talked about three of the. Well, India, Australia, and England, wherever you go for your betting, are the three favourites. And I think probably our impression would be that they're the three favourites as well. Who is the most favourite of them, Ross?
Guys, because they're reigning champs, England, and I am an England fan. I think England are in that bucket purely on the fact that I think this team just has a point to prove this time out, and I think the Australians don't particularly care that much, and that's complete bullshit because they care about winning all the time. But I just, for some reason in my head, that's where I'm putting it. So confirmation bias is what I'm going with. England.
Fair enough, Max. What do you think?
Australia for me. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. If you were interested in what the bookmakers say, India are the favourites. They're like 11-4, so that's 2.5 to 1. That's a good chance. Australia are 4 to 1, and England are 6 to 1. So England probably a good price. I don't know if that's the order I would have them in, but I think England is the best bet there. I think that what that says about England is that nobody really knows what's going to happen.
Yeah,
like that's why
I like the Catalina wine mixer of a cricket team.
We all kind of know that what India's players are going to do, and that they'll be good enough to get through the group stage, and they'll probably be good enough to beat enough of the teams in the Super 8s to get to the semi-finals.
Is there like an England group stage flop priced into that 6 to 1?
I think that's what it is. I think it's like England could easily lose to Scotland. Like that's something that definitely could happen.
Literally rocket out against Namibia and be like, "Oh no, what have we done?"
But if it clicks for England, they could easily be the KKR. They've got a big range, I would say. In
And
this.
they've got
I
Phil
think
Salt
Australia
from the front, right? So
yeah. Who got 2 tons the last time he played in the West Indies in back-to-back games?
Yes, he did.
Yeah, decent credentials. Like we do know some stuff.
I think they're gonna ruin somebody's career. Is how I see this England team. There is going to be someone from Oman who's not allowed to go back to his country because he's disgraced himself. Because
I thought you were talking about one of their own players.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, what's Livingston going to
Go
do?
for Archer again.
I do have to go.
Cool.
So thank you ever so much for listening, everybody. It's been an absolute pleasure. And go on to patreon.com/the cricket pod. And
Yes.
we'll be back with the rest of our World Cup team previews, won't we, Jack?
Yeah, Group C and D, featuring the other hosts, West Indies, of course, South Africa, potential dark horses, New Zealand, always dark horses. And like, I'm quite interested to see what people think about Sri Lanka and Pakistan. Not Sri Lanka and Pakistan, Sri Lanka and Bangladesh and Afghanistan too. Yeah. So they'll be fun. They'll be coming up shortly. Goodbye.